So the money is not coming in. The money is not adding up. So whatever you put at the benchmark price of crude oil, as much as it's still a difference of $4-5, is not the problem. It's whether the president and the legislature are men and women enough to police the production of crude oil up to the point it's sold and revenue gets into the federal consolidated revenue fund of the federation or the federation account for sharing to the territories of government.
The Lagos State.
You struck when we return. The governor of Lagos State receives a report of inquiry on collapsed buildings in the state.
Join us again.
Many factors define your health. Some you can control, while others are simply beyond you. On Health News, we highlight all these factors and through medical experts provide information that will help you take informed decisions on healthy living, nutrition, and keeping fit. Get incisive health policy analysis. Health News, promoting good health.
Welcome back. All our top stories and other programs can be found on our website, channelstv.com, and on youtube.com/channelsweb. To get us on the move, visit m.channelstv.com to view us live on your mobile device. You can also download the Channels TV app for Android, iOS, and Windows Phone from the respective stores.
Now you can also now interact with the Channels Eyewitness feature on our Android and Windows 8 platforms. If you have a picture or video to share with us, all you need to do is download the Channels TV Android application on your device, swipe to reveal the Eyewitness menu, and follow the instructions to share your report, pictures, and videos. Now, we've heard the reason why the budget presentation was postponed, but this scenario is not new in the country. It happened last year. Debate over the oil benchmark price, implementation, and the changing exchange rate have always been the bone of contention. In this next report, our business correspondent Chimezie Obi-Wagu looks at some of the issues.
Prepared in record time and tagged Budget of Fiscal Consolidation with Inclusive Growth, the 2013 budget made provision for benchmark oil price of $79 per barrel, up from $72 in 2012. The president had proposed an oil benchmark of $75 in the 2013 budget, but the House disagreed with that and raised it to $79.
Necessary to defer the presentation of the 2014 budget.
Going by the medium-term expenditure framework for 2014 to 2016 presented to the National Assembly, the president pegged the oil benchmark at $74 for 2014. Again, the legislature is in disagreement. While the Senate has approved an oil benchmark of $76 per barrel, the House of Representatives thinks the benchmark should be retained at $79.
In countries like Nigeria, that are so dependent on oil revenues, and where the use of buffers, fiscal buffers, has been significant in the course of the last few years. We are advising those countries to use the opportunity of still relatively elevated commodity prices and oil prices to actually replenish those buffers so that when there is a significant downturn, if there is in the global economy, that Nigeria will have the opportunity to tap into, say, the excess crude account.
Aside from the benchmark oil price, one other issue that has continued to generate a lot of controversy between the executive and the legislature is the level of implementation of the budget.
And the key issues has to do, one, with the assumptions of the budget. Because if you have a budget, you have some underlying assumptions. If these assumptions collapse, if they don't stand, certainly implementation will be affected.
The figure from the Federal Ministry of Finance shows that out of the 1.62 trillion naira earmarked for capital expenditure in 2013, 1.01 trillion naira has so far been released for capital projects. 400 billion naira was released in the first quarter, 200 billion naira in the second quarter, 250 billion naira in the third quarter, and just recently, the ministry released 160 billion naira for the fourth quarter. A further breakdown of those figures shows that 598.4 billion naira, or about 72.3% of the capital budget, has been utilized as at the third quarter of the year. In all of these, what Nigerians want to see is improvement in developmental projects and not the amount of monies released. Chimezie Obi-Wago for Channels Television News.
The Lagos State government has assured residents that it's doing all it can to ensure that the issue of collapsed buildings are reduced. While receiving the report of the Tribunal of Inquiry on Collapsed Buildings in the state, Governor Fashola said that the tribunal was set up to unravel the reasons behind past incidents in order to avoid future occurrences. Our correspondent Loretta Chiogo reports.
The submission of the report by the tribunal marks the end of their job. They have for months looked into the possible causes of the almost frequent incidences of collapsed building in the state. The Lagos State government would have to read through all the 8 volumes of reports presented here.
In the course of his assignment, 130 reported cases of collapsed buildings were reviewed between the period of 2007 and 2013. Out of which 10 sites were selected for the visits to Locus Inco. It is worthy to note that 3 buildings collapsed during the tenure of this tribunal in Lagos State, and after our assignment, 2 others occurred. This confirms that a holistic approach is urgently required to arrest this unwholesome syndrome of building collapse.
Governor Babatunde Fashola looks confident with the work done by the Tribunal of Inquiry, but didn't hide his worry.
Perhaps you need to give much more publicity so that members of the public should also be in a position to report bad builders, to report bad engineers to you. The criminal sanction is often the last post. At that time, we have already lost lives. So I think that without prejudice to what is in here, the professional associations, I'm using this medium, all of the professionals involved, if a building collapses or a builder has been involved in building a house that's ultimately collapsed, why should he keep his license without showing that he actually did everything that should have been done? Why should the engineer who designed it not be questioned? The structural and the civil engineers who were involved, and the architect. Because to say that, oh, the police have not prosecuted is not enough. At that time, somebody has died.
The sooner the digestion of these reports, the faster the decision to tackle the issue of collapsed buildings in the state. Loretta Chiogo, Channels Television News.
Well, staying on building collapse, the Lagos State Commissioner of Physical Planning and Urban Development, Mr. Olutoyin Ayinde, has highlighted some of the causes of collapse in Lagos. Speaking on our earlier bulletin, Mr. Ayinde attributes this to either the age of the building or use of substandard materials in building construction.
We find out that these are some of the buildings that were built about 30, 35 years ago, when knowledge of building wasn't as much as we have now, when care was not taken as much as we have now. For example, there are areas that ought to have been built with pile foundations, areas that were susceptible to flooding. A lot of those buildings are existing on raft, some are existing on strip foundations, whereas if they had done thorough investigations, most of them would have been on pipe. You know, there are people who start their construction at 7 p.m. in the night when they are sure that government